On today's show, Laura Heywood interviews
the Queen of Broadway, the Princess of Emojiland, the one and only Lesli Margherita. Welcome to Laura Heywood Interviews. I'm Laura Heywood. If Broadway had a poster child for living out loud, it would be the woman here with me in studio today. Never has there been a fiercer, more outspoken advocate for living your truth, owning your weirdness, and ruling your own kingdom. There's a reason her social media accounts are all called Queen Lesli, and it's not because she thinks she's better than anyone else. In fact, she believes we are all kings, queens, princes, or in her own words, head fart head, if we want to be. Lesli Margherita has played royalty on stage before. In fact, she won an Olivier Award, the British equivalent of a Tony, for playing the gypsy queen Inez in Zorro the musical. And yet, I'm not sure there has ever been a more perfect royal role for our beloved Broadway queen as the princess in Emojiland the musical. Currently running at the Duke Theater on 42nd Street, right in the center of New York's theater district, Emojiland is a high-energy, incredibly funny, and ultimately poignant and really smart original musical. It's a story of a bunch of emojis living happily inside a phone and the aftermath of an update that brings a bunch of new suspicious emojis to town. Lesli rules them all with such perfection that the role could have been and might have been written for her. We've been friends since she was Mrs. Wormwood in the original Broadway cast of Matilda, and it is such a happy occasion for me to welcome my favorite, Lesli Margherita, to Laura Heywood Interviews. Yay! Hi, baby!
Hi!
You are putting your body and your voice through a workout in this royal role.
Yeah, we all are.
Yeah, it is super, super high intensity for something that on the surface seems a little bit like a light show.
Totally. I mean, we're all exhausted, but it's the best kind of exhausted, because we love doing the show.
It's a superstar cast, too.
Oh my God.
It's off-Broadway, and sometimes we see off-Broadway musicals where it's like, oh, this person's making their New York theater debut, or they're out of school. But you have, like, a Broadway caliber super cast.
Super cast.
Who are some of the folks who are co-starring with you?
Georgia Bood from The Band's Visit. Josh Lehman from The Prom is my prince.
Yes.
Felicia Boswell, Natalie Weiss, Lucas Steele.
Yeah, Tony nominee for The Great Comet.
Lucas Steele.
Plus, one of the writers of the show is actually starring
Laura Shine.
Yeah.
And she's phenomenal. And I can't believe every day I'm like, this came out of your brain.
Yeah.
It just is amazing to me that she wrote this and she's starring in it. And
I feel like we use emojis to express ourselves. Like, we all speak emoji.
Yeah.
Those of us who grew up in a certain era, you and I are both of what I call the magic generation, where we had our entire childhoods pre-internet and then our entire adulthoods with internet. And basically us and everyone younger than us, we just fluently speak emoji.
Yeah.
And I think that it's easy to look at these little guys in your phone and go like, oh, I hope they're happy in there. Oh, I wonder if those two like each other.
Yeah.
And yet Laura and her partner decided to actually game that out. Yeah. And it ends up being like a political commentary on immigration. And I don't want to give too much away, but like there's discussion of whether a firewall should be built to keep out the new emojis and what happens when, what happens when they do, in fact, arrive.
Yeah, dealing with change, dealing with different versions of emojis.
Yeah, what an upgrade actually means, what it means to get a virus.
What it means to get a virus, yeah.
It's so smart, and it could have been so dumb.
And we so know that everyone goes, Emojiland, the musical, oh, good. We know. Like, people say it to my face. Like, I'm not going to be offended, but...
You're not?
Like, no, they say it like I'm not going to be. Because for some reason, people always say stuff to my face because they think that I can take anything. It must be, like, part of my personality. But I'm actually, like, I get very, like, defensive about things I love. Yeah.
Well, you do. You're always like, don't let the haters get you down, you know? But it doesn't mean that...
No, don't say it to my face. Like, it's ridiculous.
By the way, you don't have to censor yourself
Okay,
here.
then don't say it to my fucking face. But, like, we so get that people think this is a crap show. Like, we're counting on that. We want people to come to see the show and have their minds blown and changed. Like, we're counting on you.
There is one
element,
one really wonderful element where it is a quote-unquote crap show, and that is the great Anne Harada. How could we forget when listing off that cast?
I mean, and
she's going to be here as a guest in a few days, by the way.
Anne Harada plays Pile of Poo. And then also Max Crumb
Right.
plays man in business suit levitating. And
Which
that
is an
emoji.
and like an OG emoji.
Totally.
He's been around from the beginning.
From the beginning. Oh,
And
yeah, we
Max,
talk about
Max's
that.
choreography is all on a hoverboard.
And he's so good on it.
Oh my gosh. Like there is not a weak link in this cast.
No, there really isn't. No, top to bottom. It's really amazing.
So I got to see this show in its earlier incarnation at the New York Musical Festival.
Nymph, R.I.P. Nymph.
I know. What happened to Nymph? It's gone.
I know, it's gone. I loved, that was, I've done 3 shows at Nymph, and I loved doing that festival. And that was another thing that people were like, why would you do that? Because at Nymph, it's bare bones. It's like no rehearsal, no pay. But I love doing stuff for new writers. And if I have any kind of following to help them get their work out, I will always say yes.
You say yes to everything.
I try to.
I don't know how you do that.
That was something when I moved here like 6 years ago. I said, I'm going to say yes to everything. If it's physically possible and I'm not exhausting myself or making myself crazy, I'm going to say yes to everything. Because you don't know who you're going to meet. Mm-hmm. You don't know, what's going to happen. I really do try. It doesn't matter. You can be like the most famous person or somebody just starting out. If I have the time, I'm going to say yes.
Hence why she's on the show today. She says yes to everything.
But I don't get it. And, it's so funny. Like, sometimes I get backlash from that. Like, sometimes.
Like, you should be playing more hard to get?
Yeah. Or that, like, I'm somehow considered like not as fancy or not as arty or as committed to my craft if I'm doing such and such show at 54 Below or Green Room, whatever. Like, I don't understand that mentality.
You're just so generous. And I think that for people who aren't as generous, it might make them feel fancier if they project their own, like, I don't know. I'm not mad at anybody for knowing their own boundaries and limits. And if somebody,
no, not at all.
I know people who are like, I give so much at 8 shows a week,
absolutely,
that I don't do anything extracurricular.
And I totally get that.
Yeah,
there are days where I'm like, I can't.
Yeah,
my body
and if you
can't,
you can't. I don't think that necessarily somebody who doesn't say yes to everything isn't generous. And I want to just make sure that that's the case. But you find a way to say yes as often as you can, and when you don't, it's not because you feel like you're too good for something.
Yes, and that's what I hate. It's the people who think they're too good for something. Mm-hmm. People who think like, well, I'm not going to go do Emojiland off Broadway. I'm too good for that. No, you're not. If something speaks to you, if there's a role or a project that speaks to you, and it's in, I don't know, Idaho or something, say yes.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to be happier. You're going to be more fulfilled. Like, just say yes.
Do you know what it reminds me of? Is like, I used to have interns every semester in my old corporate job. And the first thing I would always do would be to ask them to get me a coffee. And I'm perfectly capable of getting my own coffee. And it always made me feel like kind of an asshole to say, can you go get me my coffee? However, I could always tell what kind of intern they were going to be by how they reacted to that request. I had people who were like really, really nervous that they were going to get it wrong, and like I take my coffee black. You cannot get it wrong, like, and then I had people who were like, really? Do you know that I go to NYU or whatever? Right. And I'd be like, and then I had the people who were like, yep, how do you take it?
Yeah.
And then the next day I'd ask them to get it for me again, and then on the third day when I asked them for it, they would already have it in their hand. And there's still people I know, like my protege ultimate intern is now a producer at MTV. She's totally dominating and is way far ahead of where I'll ever be already, and she's like 25. Anyway, like, when you're willing to do the small things exceptionally well, that's how people understand you're going to do everything. And it just creates more and bigger opportunities.
And it's just like work as hard as you can in what you love and what you want to do. Mm-hmm. I think, again, like, if you're exhausted, don't. But I love to work on stuff. And that's how Emojiland, I had done a show with Tom Caruso, the director.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were going to say Tom Cruise.
I had done a show with Tom Cruise. No.
Just like came out of your mouth that way. You're like, I had done a
Top Gun musical with Tom Cruise. Tom Caruso was the associate on Matilda, and he asked me to do a show called Matthew McConaughey versus the Devil at NYMF, which was amazing. And Max Crumb was in that as well. Max Crumb played Woody Harrelson. And I was the devil, of course. And then the next year, Tom said, I'm doing another NYMF show. He just texted me because NYMF show, emojis, you'd be the princess. And I said, in. No question. I asked for the dates and I looked at my calendar. I said, yeah, in. Then I got the script and I went, oh my God, this is like not what I thought. I thought it was just going to be like a stupid cutesy kid musical. And I was so blown away by that script and that music. Every single song is good. Like it just.
The songs are still in my head, and I saw it like a week and a half ago. I'm so thrilled that you guys are making a cast recording.
Yes, out, I think, February 28th.
Available for pre-order now.
Oh, Broadway Records? Broadway Records, I think, yeah. Broadway Records.
So. I'm just going to Google all the details, which I should have had in front of me before.
No, it's Broadway Records. It is.
Good.
Yeah, February 20th. But, yeah, and then I loved this character because it was just such a commentary on a certain type of girl.
Kids, you referred to Josh Lehman as your prince, but the fact is, when the update happens and the prince arrives, Princess is not thrilled to have to share her throne.
Not thrilled. No, not thrilled at all. And it's what I love about the show. It's how do you deal with change? How do you deal with if Princess, I don't want to give away everything, but she is a certain type of girl that you see now on Instagram, on social media, that is given so much power just basically for no reason.
She's sparkly.
Because she's sparkly and pretty and dances around. And
she demands attention.
Yeah. And I find people like that all have the world's attention, a lot of those people these days. And so for me, I loved seeing, like, what do you do with that attention? What do you do? And she doesn't do it very well, you know?
Not at the beginning.
Not at the beginning. But yeah, and having someone usurp her position is difficult for her in the show.
Do you understand what I mean when I say I feel like this could have been written for you?
Yes.
Because you are not like that. You're so giving and generous, and like there is a throne for everyone. In fact, you may have actually used that word. You have this incredible live album that's available on Spotify and Apple Music and everywhere you can find music, where you talk about the fact that, like I said in the intro, you can be the king of your own kingdom, the queen, the princess, the duke, the head head. If that's however you want to define it, just rule your own kingdom.
Yes.
And the princess in Emojiland is not about that. She's like, there's one kingdom,
there's one
or
supreme ruler. Yeah, absolutely.
And she is it.
Yeah.
And yet she's so over the top and big, and like she's the most like a drag queen that a non-drag queen has ever been, which is kind of how Lesli Margherita is. Yeah,
I'll take that. Yeah. Totally.
The first time I saw you live at 54 Below, you were getting your picture taken post-show with an actual drag queen.
I'm sure I was.
And from the back, I couldn't tell which one was you because you both had these
huge hair,
crazy extensions, sequin dresses, like badass curves. And I was like, and you're both tall and wearing platform heels.
Love
and,
it.
You know, and I didn't know which one was which.
That's high praise.
Right. And I feel like Princess is like that.
Totally. It's Lady Gaga, Ariana Grande. It's these draggy pop princesses too, you know, that are like over the top.
She does have a very Ariana Grande ponytail.
Completely. And that's on purpose. Pink. Yeah. And that is completely on purpose. And it's the outfit's Lady Gaga, and it's just the costumes that Vanessa did are stunning as well, and also make very clear commentary.
Yeah, well, in a lot of different ways. I mean, first of all, you recognize all of those emojis right away. The female construction worker and cop look so much like the female. And I specify female because, you know, for so long you couldn't get a female construction worker.
Right.
And then there they were. Yeah. And that was an important moment. To be able to change the skin tone of the emojis was really important too. And so the costumes are really great in that kind of straight ahead, straightforward. This is Emojiland. This is what the emojis look like.
Right.
But also they all have ones and zeros built into them.
There's all code. Yeah,
and
it's great.
They must like You don't have costume changes, do you?
No, I don't. But some of our cast have a million.
Yeah.
A million costume changes.
And you see so many different emojis. I tried to make a list in emoji form of all of them, and there were like 30 different emojis.
But I love the show, and it's a blast to do. It hurts my body a little bit.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because you are, in addition to tirelessly like agreeing to do stuff, you also do so many things by choice that like, what time did you wake up this morning?
6.
And for what purpose?
I take figure skating lessons.
How many days a week?
5 days a week.
First thing in the morning in 30-degree weather in New York City in winter.
Yeah, outside in Central Park.
When you're already doing 8 shows a week.
It's
of course
rough.
Your body hurts.
Yeah, my body hurts, but it's rough. But I skated as a kid, and I wanted to be an ice dancer, and I had to choose between that and theater. And I chose theater and got away from skating, but was always still a fan. And then like a year ago, my husband was like, I think you need a hobby outside of what you do. And he goes, why don't you just start skating? And I at first was like, oh, I can't do that. What if I, get hurt or blah, blah, blah. But then I started doing it and just fell in love with it again. And now I take classes so that I can do everything properly and won't get hurt. And I love it so much. And it's a bunch of adults that we don't know what we're doing, but we luckily like have banded together, and every day we're taking this class. It's awesome.
I love the idea of, people say it's hard to make friends as adults, but I think when you opt into something where everybody is in the same boat, everybody's starting from scratch and celebrating each other's progress, it's super easy to make friends.
It's so fun too. And I've had a couple people from my class who really had no idea what I did in regular life come to see the show, because they go, oh, I saw a picture of you in the Times. And now, and so a couple of them have come to the show and are they don't know what to say after.
They're like, oh my God, you're like really
No,
nice.
because they're just, I'm so different than, we're like 6 a.m. and we're all falling on the ice and trying to do stuff. And it just is, so it's another thing of saying yes. Like if there's something that you want to do in life that's a passion, and maybe that has nothing to do with your career, but you kind of want to do something, just do it. It's the best thing I ever did. It's so hard. I was really nervous the first day. So scared to like show up and take a lesson. I just thought, what am I doing? And then everything just kind of cracked wide open, and it's helped
the
me.
ice, I hope.
Except the ice, yeah. But it's like helped me in life, just to learn new things and to be okay with not being perfect.
There is, like, if there's one lesson that I want the world to take away from me, it's that being new at something and being bad at something are not the same thing.
No.
And when you see somebody on Broadway or in a like high quality, top notch off Broadway production like Emojiland, it's really easy to think like, well, she was born with it, like the talent.
Yeah.
And we forget that we all had a first dance class. We all had a first time singing on stage. I mean, I'm not a performer in that way, but like people forget that like I too had 0 Twitter followers.
Absolutely.
And we all just practice and you get better. And like radio has been a constant in my life since I was 19 years old. It just happened that I had 3 years of college radio where 0 people were listening, and I just practiced all the time. I didn't know I was practicing. I thought I was playing.
Yeah.
But I got better. I got good. And now, like, I remember, I wish so much that I had learned to dance. And when I was 16, I decided to take a ballet class, an intro ballet class. There was a community center near my house that had an adult beginner ballet class. And I was like, I'm doing it. Well, what I didn't realize until I got there on day one was that they also had listings for a children's beginner ballet class in the same room at the same time with the same teacher. And I was the only adult who signed up for the adult class. So they combined us, and I was 16, and I was with a bunch of 5-year-olds who were picking things up really easily.
Yeah.
And I felt like I should be better than them because I was older than them. But I had also learned a bunch of stuff that I had to unlearn, whereas they were just playing.
Yeah.
I didn't go back after the first class. And I think now, 24 years later, I'm like, man, I could have been dancing for 24 years. And I wouldn't be probably that much in a different spot than somebody who'd been dancing for 34 years.
Right.
But I was so conscious of being quote unquote bad at it that I didn't give myself any permission to be new at it. For the last 2 years, I've been talking about like, I really should start that over. I really should go take a beginner class. But when my friends are literally dancing on Broadway and calling themselves not dancers, they're like, I'm just a mover. I'm not really a dancer. And I'm like, you literally dance on Broadway. So like, shut up about that, telling me you're not a dancer. Because if you're not a dancer, then what in the world am I?
But it's okay. It's all okay.
Does it bring you joy? It's like Marie Kondoing your hobbies.
Totally. Does it spark joy?
Yeah.
And man, I fall every day. And I'm still smiling when I fall because it's like, and you get little victories, like little things that I don't know. It's really
like the
helped.
first time you landed that triple axel.
I'll tell you, I don't like the jumping. I love the ice dance, but the jumping, I'm not so much.
What are you working on these days? Like, how long have you been taking the classes, and how good have you gotten?
I started with my main coach, Megan, who's awesome, a year ago, and we just started with basics, and now we're doing jumps and turns, and I'm not doing doubles or anything. I'm just doing singles, but it's still thrilling to me.
Of course,
to learn
it is.
Something new.
How few people can do any kind of anything on the ice.
It's really fun and it's really hard, and so I like the challenge of getting better at something and learning something new, and stuff like that only helps. I think artists, it only helps creative people to learn new stuff and be bad at something.
Be new at it.
Be new.
It's not the same. They look the same.
Be new at it.
But
because I'm not bad. I'm just new.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that is something that I didn't grasp until my early 30s.
Yeah.
And even more than Broadway, it's my biggest passion right now is this idea of growth mindset and the idea that progress is really the only thing that matters.
Yeah.
And that if you're truly dedicated to getting 1% better, no matter how on what timeline, then it doesn't matter where you start, because eventually you'll be better.
And failure is progress.
That's right.
You've tried. You have made progress.
Right. You learned
It may
something.
not have been successful, but at least you did it.
Well, and starting as an absolute beginner is the best way to ensure that you'll make progress. Yeah. So I think for people who grew up being told that they were a natural, it can be really dangerous to try anything that they're not a natural at.
Yeah. And it's also dangerous to be a natural, because then sometimes you sit back and don't progress, because you can be a natural at something, but you still have to work really,
exactly.
really hard.
That's why I'm like, who uses a coach? LeBron James.
Yeah. It's just, and even people that we see at the stage door, they're like, I remember after Matilda, my number loud was the hardest vocal and dance number I've ever had in my life, and probably will ever have. Mm-hmm. And we worked so hard to make it look easy. And there were times where I'd get annoyed because people thought it was easy when that's what we were working towards. But we worked so hard, and you just can't stop working hard. And I'm very open, on social media about showing I'm sitting in an ice bath, or I'm,
your caption there was a picture of you from Broadway Con. Can you describe this picture?
My friend Michael Hull took a perfect picture where I'm kicking, and my leg is I'm very proud of the fact it's straight up and down.
Your ear. It's like you're trying to kick yourself in the shoulder blade.
But the best part about that is Natalie Weiss texted me this picture, and no joke, I could not make this up. I got the picture, I got the text message as I had my feet in a foot massager, an ice pack on my left knee, a heating pad on my right lower back, a face mask on, and a glass of wine in the other hand, and then throwing a ball with the other one for my dog. But it was the most perfect, juxtaposition of, this looks easy to everyone on Instagram. Please know I'm in pain, and this takes work. It takes a lot of work to be able to do that, and it's every day of keeping your body healthy and stretching and keep going to classes. And it's a nonstop thing that I think a lot of younger people don't grasp these days, because sometimes success online or whatever comes very easily to a lot of people. And so the concept of working your butt off, I think, is sometimes lost these days.
Yeah. And I will say from experience, just in the last few years, working your butt off is the best antidote to imposter syndrome that there ever was.
Yeah.
Because if you know that you've truly given it your all, you won't feel like an imposter.
Yeah.
I remember I joined the Broadway Softball League a few years ago because there's a team of 2 Broadway shows that combined, Finding Neverland and Fiddler on the Roof. And between the 2 shows, they couldn't find 2 women to show up every week. And so I was friends with the stage manager. So the rules of the Broadway Show League, Softball League, you have to have 2 women on the field in every inning.
Yeah.
And so I got to join, and I was like, I used to work for a baseball team, and I love watching it. And I was like on a T-ball team when I was a kid. But I'm going to go in and be like, I am new. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm better than having nobody.
Yeah.
So what can I learn? And being humble that way, I saw so much progress.
Yeah.
And I wasn't embarrassed when I missed the ball. I was like, oh, I'm going to come out this weekend and practice catching it 1,000 times. And then next week I'll be better.
Yeah.
I think that is one of many ways, your openness about that, instead of just pretending you were born this way, is you are so supportive and positive for your young fans, you know?
Oh, thanks.
And you have been this touchstone for so many young people to rally around and find each other and support each other.
I love it. It's amazing. And I love social media for that stuff, you know?
There is so much positivity if you're looking for it.
Totally.
And the more you put out there, the more you'll get.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to be yourself and not put the perfect version out there, because that's not interesting.
Yeah.
I think, funny stuff happens to me all the time, and I'd rather tell that. Or I had a really crappy audition. I'd rather put that online than, oh my God, you guys, everything's perfect. Everything's amazing. Because we all go through the same stuff, no matter what you do, what business you're in. Everybody has crap happen to them. I'd rather read that.
Yeah, well, me too. There's a reason that it was important to me to do this radio show live. And that was because I don't want it to look like I never stumble over my words or that here's a little behind the scenes moment. I almost had to have Leslie stall for me at the beginning of the live show because I had to pee so bad, and the bathroom key was locked inside the bathroom here at DNR Studios. So I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen? I could pee in the studio. And the look on Leslie's face is like, oh.
I guess I can just talk to the abyss.
So 2 minutes before we went live, one of the other producers ran in with the key, and I made the quickest.
It was very quick
evacuation of my life. But
I love that you came back and you were like, I did wash my hands.
Because you were like, that was really fast. And I just didn't want there to be any confusion over I was going to sacrifice the beginning of the show in favor of having sanitary, healthy working conditions. But I think it would have been really fun. And another thing is that I really, really wanted Leslie. I'm just talking to the listeners now like you're not here. I really wanted you to bring your dog, Stewie, today.
I know.
And
I should have.
And you didn't because you were afraid he'd be
he's
steal
a pain
focus.
In the ass. He is my baby and I love him. But he would have been running around the entire time. And it's like having a toddler where I'm like, Stewie, because he won't sit still. He is literally me in dog form. He's just always going.
Speaking as your fan, I can say that's goals to me, to hang out with you and Stewie. And I want this show to really feel like people are hanging out with us. And I can hear you tell the story of how, you grew up on a ranch with cows and that if they didn't do their scene with you correctly, they'd be in the freezer for dinner the next day, and that's hilarious. But I've also seen you do that as part of your act, and it's available elsewhere and online. Right. But one thing I've never done is heard what you sound like when Stewie is running around being a brat.
I can tell you right now, I go like this, Stu, babe, Stu. That's literally all day. Stuart. Stuart.
I didn't realize it was short for Stuart.
Stewie, but Stuart when I'm pissed.
That's his full name.
Yeah, Stuart.
Is it Stuart Margherita?
Stewie Margherita Stafford.
Oh, is that his dad's last name?
That's my married name, yeah.
It's funny. I've known you, you've been married as long as I've known you, but I also sort of don't believe this guy actually exists because I've never seen him.
Because he lives 3,000 miles away.
I know. How do you do that?
We have just always done it. I feel like we could have a whole episode on long distance relationships. My husband and I have been married for 12 years, been together 15. And as long as we have been together, I have been traveling. Like I was in London when we got married. We were together probably 5 years in LA together at the same time.
That's pretty substantial.
Yeah.
Enough to know that you can do it.
Oh, yeah. We absolutely can do it. But we're really good at bi-coastal living. I don't know. It's just like we're really good at it. We're both really independent, and it makes us miss each other.
Yeah.
And
you can like be obsessed with each other when you're together without it being
I have
problematic.
Stewie, which is, I'm sure it's difficult for Dan, but like I have the baby.
Did you have to like postpone your wedding or something to do
Zorro? I had done all the workshops and stuff for Zorro, and I knew that they were going to do a London production, but I was like, there's no way that they'll take me.
The complications about getting an American actor to work in London or vice versa is there's all these union rules and stuff.
It's a little easier now, but then it was like really difficult. So we were planning our wedding, and I was getting married in April, and I found out in December that they had gotten me work papers to go over there. Equity, my union wouldn't exchange me because I was basically a nobody. And at that time, only like big stars got to go over and work there. So my company paid for lawyers to get me work papers. And I found out late December that I was going. I left December 31st, and my wedding was going to be in April. So I was gone for the entire 3 months before my wedding, and I had to miss the last few shows. We were on tour first before we went to the West End, so I missed the last few shows in a place called Milton Keynes.
And they'll hate you there forever.
They'll hate me forever. And I flew home 3 days before my wedding, but my husband had to go to like the food tasting with my mother, and he was at the wedding shower, and I was in like Eastbourne teching or something, and I saw it on Skype. Like it was just the craziest time. Yeah, I didn't see for 3 months before we got married.
He's like, can you just not say yes quite as often?
But like that was like such a once in a lifetime thing. But then the next 2 years I was in London and he was in LA. And then when Matilda happened, I was like, well, I'll just be there for a year, and now it's been 6.
Yeah,
so we just go back and forth.
You keep getting offered those big time jobs.
I love it. No, I love it. And you know, I can go back and forth and work. And
he's here for all your special like opening nights and stuff. He was in London for your Olivier win.
Yeah.
Video of which is the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Because when I got nominated, first of all, that was a massive shock. Total shock. And then everybody over there said, Americans don't win. Americans don't win. Don't worry about it. You're not going to win. I was like, great. Fun night. We're just going to like have a blast. And so
also,
I
don't they serve cocktails at the Oliviers?
Oh, yeah. It's like the Golden Globes. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it still is, but when I was, you know, the year I was, it was like, yeah, we were just having fun, having dinner and drinks. I didn't write a speech. My husband made me write down a couple names, thankfully.
Like, you better thank the Gypsy King.
I know. But we just, I don't know, not for a second thought I was going to win. So the speech is 100% me and hysterical.
Google it.
Yeah, Google
YouTube
it. It's a lot.
Yeah, but you're a lot. And I mean that in the best possible way.
It was very American. Very American. Yeah.
You know what's funny about the Olivier Award? I think that it's hard to even say the word without being like, Olivier.
The Olivier.
It's sort of like Harvard. You can't be like, oh yeah, she went to Harvard. You're like, oh, she went to Harvard. Like you cannot say Olivier without it sounding kind of pretentious.
And literally those awards are so fancy and stuffy. And I was like, rah, rah, like the Muppet in the room. But it was the most fun. And I think people, like, I remember people coming up to me all night being like, you're hysterical. I was like, thanks. I'm like, my role was dramatic. I had nothing, like, just me as a person was like a Muppet that they found funny.
I mean, Miss Piggy has always been your idol.
Always.
One of three, right? I mean,
yeah.
Miss Piggy, Princess Leia, and
Wonder Woman,
right?
Yeah. Yeah, the best.
I think, you know, it's funny because having known you as your friend, like we became friends because of your role in Matilda. I can't actually remember exactly how we met. Was it because I was interviewing you?
I think so.
Yeah. But we just clicked really fast.
Yeah.
And I remember knowing we were actually friends when I went to see you in Dames at Sea. And you were like, oh, just like come and hang out afterward backstage. And I was like, what? I mean, I guess
we're friends.
And getting your cell phone number was also like a big deal because I was like, wait. People don't do that just to be nice to their fans. You don't give them like your actual phone number. And I was like, I better not misuse this. I don't want her to regret this and be like, oh, crazy fangirl.
Never.
But sometimes people, I think, especially if they haven't spent time with you to see how like humble and joyful and down to earth and like super into advocating that everybody is equal and we're all just humans trying to do our best in this world, can read Olivier Award and expect you to be pretentious because Olivier sounds pretentious.
Yeah.
And I, without naming any names, there was somebody recently who said to me like, I can't believe how agreeable she is and how nice she is, because like I would think that an Olivier winner would not be so like down to earth.
That's crazy.
I know.
That's crazy.
But way to surprise people in the best ways.
Andy Carl won an Olivier and he's like awesome.
I know,
we're not all like,
and I know Andy, and I've interviewed him. He's great. I have no bad words to say about him.
Yeah, he's right.
I don't know that he is looking to say yes to every single thing he's offered. That's nothing against him. I love him. But you're so approachable and agreeable.
Oh, yay. I hope so. I mean, I think everyone wants to be remembered for their career, but I really the most important thing is to be remembered as a good person.
I feel like that too.
Yeah, I just really want to be a good person. And it's hard in what I do. It's hard to always try and remain a good person. It's easy to go to the snark. And I just hate it.
Well, here's the thing that I think that you do so well is that, I talk a lot about practicing kindness and like the fact that it does take practice and it is a muscle. And like the more you work at it, the more authentically and easily it comes as a knee-jerk reaction. What I think sometimes gets lost in that is that kindness to yourself is as important, if not more important, than being kind to others.
Yeah.
And they can coexist, but also like you are able to use snark as a means of self-care. Like if somebody comes up to you and is like, and I'm using this not because of any personal observation, but because I'm quoting a story you told on stage that's recorded. So I'm just quoting you, that somebody would come up and be like, oh, well, off stage you look so skinny. And that you'll be like, middle finger, lady. That it's not that you feel like you have to be like sweet to this person. And you might grate your teeth and be sweet to them.
I'm always sweet in person. Like I will always, but I will put that person on blast. I'll never say names, but I like to tweet those things to be like, what? Why do these people say shit like that to me?
Yeah.
Always. But I'm always nice in person. I've never... No, I think once.
Tell me that story.
Well, once there was a girl, I got really, really protective of the kids in Matilda.
Oh, I can imagine.
And there were some Tumblrs and Instagram accounts that would like rank the kids, their performances, talk about them. And once I caught wind of those and I went to look on them, I got so angry. And there was one girl who had an account that I wrote a tweet about like, please don't ever rank these kids or include them in social media or stop filming them from the front row on their very first show. And she was like, a young person, probably 19, 20. And she got so angry with me for tweeting that she then decided that she was going to be my mortal enemy. And she used to write things on Instagram like, I can't wait to make Lesli pissed off and blah, blah, blah. And I thought, what an awful way to live your life and how much hate you're putting into the world and how, like, it's like people who write on message boards. I don't understand it. Don't put bad shit into the world. But anyway, this girl, the very last performance of Matilda, she was at the stage door and they were saying she
came to celebrate you, to make you mad?
I don't know, but I knew what she looked like. Mm-hmm. And she said something like, hey, Lesli, and she wanted to give me something. And I said, no, you don't get my signature or my picture because of the terrible things that you've said about me online. And she realized that I knew who she was, that she wasn't anonymous. Mm-hmm. And I hope that that terrified her. And I hope that that made her change how she was. Because I wanted to find out who this person was. And we always know. Our press people have ways of finding who's behind these accounts. And so the anonymity of the meanness, I was so angry at it. So once she knew that I knew who she was, who her face was, I hope it made a difference. I don't know, but I sure hope so. It's the only time I've ever said something to someone, because I'm like, you don't get to be mean and anonymous. It's why, what I was saying, why I hate message boards, why I hate snark.
And yet you found a way to really love Twitter, even though that's a place that's famous for trolls.
Well, I mean, and I read those comments in my cabaret shows because as a way to neutralize them. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, like I for about 4 years now, I don't read reviews and I don't look at message boards. I have my best friend who directs my show. She goes online, she finds the funny mean ones.
Right.
There are some real mean ones, but she finds the funny mean ones and we weed through them, and that's what I read as a way to diffuse it, going, we all get crap criticism, mm-hmm. But they're hysterical in their trying to tear me down. They're really funny. But the mean part of Twitter is rough. I feel like you shouldn't be anonymous. And I don't understand. The message boards are really tough for me because I don't understand someone going to see a first preview only so they can be the first person to tear something down. Oh, I don't understand why you want to live that way. So and reviews, I mean, these are legitimately people who are paid to, this is their mm-hmm. job. I just don't read them because I spiral. I know my limits.
What is your feeling about, like, let's say that I had, in my intro today, if I had been like, Lesli Margherita is currently starring in Emojiland, and the New York Times calls it the most brilliant performance of da-da-da. Like, if I tag you in a pull quote that says something nice, is that the same as forcing you to read a review?
No, I don't mind that, and my agents know that, and people at the theater know that. I want to know if it was positive for the show. Fantastic, mm-hmm. Love that. If I got a great pull quote, great. I don't want to know. I don't like to hear somebody's favorite moment in a show, because then I think about it every time. It's a weird thing.
I think I said something was my favorite moment to you, like when you came in. Oh no, I didn't.
Oh no, but like in a review. But like in a review.
Yeah. But I was like, I want to come and play on the poll.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't trying to say it was my favorite moment.
Yeah, but like but like in a role, like in a review, if somebody goes, "Oh, she says this line," and then I'm like, "Oh God, I think about that every time."
Yeah.
I don't know. It gets in my head, good or bad. But I think if you believe the bad, if you believe the good, you got to believe the bad, and it just, for me, I can't read them, but I don't mind when I see them. I'm like, great, I love that, great. But especially if they're good for the show, I'm thrilled.
I want to defend anonymity for a minute and mm-hmm. say, as someone who had an anonymous Twitter account for 6 years,
but you were never mean.
That's right. You can. If you don't feel like you can put your name on it, that's okay, as long as you know that it will always come back to you and nothing is a secret forever.
Yeah.
You cannot hide who you truly are. And the more negativity you put out there, the more, this is true, I read a lot about brain chemistry and neurology, your brain will become, it's like biting your nails. It's like the more you do it, the more you get used to doing it and the easier it comes to you. And like, as somebody who's been trying to quit biting my nails for 30 years, I can tell you, like, habits like that are hard to break. And the more that and to do something for the first time, like create a Twitter account, I didn't put my name on it because, I don't know, it was sort of a weird whim, but the more positivity I put out, the easier it was to actually feel positive about stuff.
Totally.
And Forbes magazine was the first publication to profile me after my big reveal. And they actually, the reason it was interesting to them was because anonymity, popularity, and positivity were 3 characteristics they didn't think could all.
I love that.
They said you can only have 2. And this is a quote from Forbes. Okay, I just found the article. The old internet adage goes like this: normal person plus anonymity plus audience equals total fuckwad. The academic term for it is online disinhibition effect, and one need look no further than the YouTube comment section to see it in action. But anonymity can also be a powerful tool for good, creating a safe space to discuss important issues, mental health, abuse, without the social stigma attached to them. It can also simply be a lot of fun, not to mention smart business. Forbes goes on to call popular former anonymous Twitter user Broadway Girl NYC is ... not, in fact, a total fuckwad.
Yeah, I love it.
Talk about pull quotes.
Oh my God, right? But it's so true, because what you were putting out was so uplifting and positive. I don't mind anonymity that way.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying there are people who, for whatever reason, don't feel like they can put their name or their face on social media, but they can still use it as a way to make the world a better place, even in the teeniest, tiniest ways. Like, there's currency in attention. I get that. And somebody who can be the first person to say what note somebody hit wrong, they get the attention, but it's toxic. It's like drinking poison, you know?
It really is.
Yeah.
And it just, I totally believe I'm one of those people that words have so much power, and putting icky words out, they're going to come back to you.
People have said to me that resentment, Carrie Fisher said this in her one-woman show, Wishful Drinking. And I think she might have been quoting somebody else, but it's really stuck with me. Resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Totally.
And I think that that's what happens when people are bad-mouthing performers, is that they are like, I'm going to show them, but they end up taking in the toxicity themselves. Yeah. And then in order to medicate that, they have to keep putting more out there and getting the high of the attention, but they're never actually treating the toxins, you know?
And going back to like what we were talking about before with what people think about Emojiland, the amount of toxicity that I've seen with people going, even online, they made a musical about emojis, blah, 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 all of that. I'm like, it's just, I don't understand expending that energy.
Yeah.
Before you've even seen anything?
I can get being surprised by source material. I mean, I remember being like, they're doing a SpongeBob musical?
Absolutely.
Because I expected it to look like the guy in Times Square in the off-brand suit with a pair of tap shoes, being like, I live in a pineapple under the sea, you know, and it turns out that they got Tina Landau, who's
and it's
like
one of the most amazing shows. Yeah.
Exactly, you know, and there's so many examples of that. Even Lion King, people take Lion King as just this obvious Broadway choice, but it was a Disney cartoon, and you're going to just put that on stage and like a bunch of people in lion costumes and expect people to spend $300 to go and see it. Well, yeah, look how well it was done.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you come and see it and you hate it, that's fine too. Not everybody has to like everything, but give things a chance.
I also think that hating something and like having it not be your taste are different.
Totally.
Like,
but you know, there's such a cachet in being like bitchy, snarky.
It's not to me.
Not to me either.
It.
But it is.
Yeah.
There's just, you can't escape it.
So this actually leads kind of perfectly into the idea that I really think that having a public platform is a responsibility, and that there's no excuse for having any level of fame or notoriety without using it to make the world a better place in an active, like engaging, intentional way. And that can be putting messages out to kids that they're not alone. And it can be reminding people that they will always be the ruler of their own kingdom, and whether they're like the good guys or the bad guys is up to them.
Yeah.
And it can also be, and there's no, like, that is huge. That is enough. And then there's also raising awareness and money for organizations that are doing good in the world. And I know that like we talked about Stewie and how important he is to you, and he is your personal baby, but there are also so many animals out there that don't have loving, obsessed moms like you. And you have been really vocal about supporting the ASPCA. What can you tell us about them and why it's important to you to support them?
I mean, look, for me, they were the first organization that I really knew anything about pet wise. And then it kind of opened the door to, there's so many amazing animal organizations throughout the world, but they really were helping, find homes for dogs, cats, that they really brought awareness. I think we're some of the first to bring awareness to abandoned dogs, abandoned cats.
And abused animals. They've been around for 150 years.
Yeah.
And it's not just about like, you want a puppy, we've got some puppies.
Absolutely.
It's about like how to educate you if you have an animal that comes from an abusive situation. Home, it's about making sure that neglect is treated as seriously as like other forms of abuse. It's about finding the right guardian for a new pet, not just getting a dog or a cat into a home, but the right home.
Yeah. And they've just been, they're amazing people, and anytime that I can help in any way, whether that's even just singing at benefits for, there's in New York especially, there are so many animal charities and organizations. So I just try and give back that way, because I've gotten so much from my pooches.
Well, I am going to make a donation to the ASPCA today in your honor, and I would love for everyone who hears this to make a donation. And I'm saying this out loud. It does not have to be big.
No,
I think that so
even
often,
time.
Yeah.
If you've got an hour, just go and pet them. Go to your shelter and just spend time with those animals. It means the world to them.
There is no downside to getting to go spend time with doggies and kittens.
And they, it's just, and it's heartbreaking to go, but it's also really uplifting, because even if you can't take one home, you're giving them some love and getting it back.
I wish that I had $500 to give, but
I know.
But I have this. I have a dream that one day, Laura Heywood interviews will become big enough that charities will notice when they've been mentioned on the show. Because I always, when I finish a show talking about a good cause, I always encourage the audience to donate, and I feel like the day will come where someone in development at the ASPCA will go, why did we get $1,005 donations today? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And it'll be like, oh, that was the Laura Heywood effect.
Oh.
Because we all want to make a big splash, but sometimes all we can donate is a drop.
Yeah.
But put enough of
still
them
makes
together.
A difference.
Yeah. So
also
skip your Starbucks today and whatever that would have cost, or like put $1 down. ASPCA.org is the website. There is no minimum donation. And there's no maximum donation, but like, let's just do it. These are puppies and kitties, and I assume that they do stuff for other animals too, right?
Oh my gosh,
rabbits
they absolutely do.
And turtles and whatever
even like
it is.
The older dogs need the love that maybe I don't know. I've just gotten so much back from having an animal, and I have massive anxiety, and I think most people do. And to have my little fur person next to me just makes a huge difference.
Well, next time you're bringing him.
I will. I know.
And I don't care if he is.
Stewie.
I listened to an hour of you doing that. Does he talk back?
All the time. And he's 8 and he's now getting a little grumpy, but he's always been talkative, but it's always like under his breath. But lately he's been a little grumpy because I've been so busy. And so
he's mad at you for being gone.
Mad. And my best friend has been taking him for a couple of days, because if I'm gone all day, and he goes to daycare sometimes too, but I like to have him with people sometimes. He just gets grumpy, and I'll come home and he just grumbles, so mad.
But it's because he loves you so much.
I know.
And then how does he react when he gets to see your husband? Does he not care? Is he mad at him for being gone, or is he like so happy?
No, he's so happy. But he I feel like whenever my husband is there, he relaxes because when my husband's gone, he feels like he has to be the alpha.
The man of the house.
He's the protector and he's like on guard whenever we're walking. But when my husband's there, he can kind of like be like just the dog. Uh-huh. Yeah, but he feels like he's the man of the house. It's so cute because he's tiny.
You put lots of pictures of him on Instagram.
I do.
Yeah, good.
I do.
Because we need that. We need that in our lives.
He's always smiling.
And speaking of cute animals, like I dare you to go to aspca.org and not like, I don't want a dog particularly right now, but I see this one little picture and I'm like, I want that one.
Who's the best?
Oh my gosh, a text just came through from a friend of mine and it is a screenshot of a donation to the ASPCA.
Love it.
Oh, and another one says, I love Leslie. I love her tweets. I loved her in Matilda. And if she is not the nanny, I'm going to riot.
Oh, I would love to do it.
The Nanny, the musical, we are literally in the last minute of the show, but The Nanny, the musical has been announced.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm quoting your tweet accurately when I say,
Job.
I am Merle. I am
I
Hart.
am Job.
I am Job.
I am
yeah.
Job. Actually from Mrs. Doubtfire, I am Job. I am Job. And I am Job.
I believe that you were quoted in the Broadway briefing as well, which means that when they announced that it had been, and so like that got it in front of a lot of the right eyeballs.
That's hysterical.
Let's get you in that room. Let's take all that good energy.
Take it all. Yeah.
All you have to do is get in front of them.
That's it.
I believe.
Yeah. We'll see. Get out of my hands.
We're going to
get
you.
If it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Lesli Margherita is Job. I adore you. I adore you.
Oh, ditto.
Everybody go see the Queen as the princess, Lesli Margherita as princess in Emojiland alongside an all-star cast currently playing at the Duke Theater. The album is out on February 28th through Broadway Records and is available for pre-order now. You can follow Lesli Margherita on all the social media at Queen Leslie, Lesli. Mm-hmm. And if you're ever looking to spell Margarita, it's like the pizza, not like the drink.
Yeah, pizza, not the drink.
Take care of yourself.
Thank
we need
you.
you. The world needs you. Broadway needs you. I need you. And Stewie needs you. Thanks for being on Laura Heywood Interviews.
Thank you.